And the next guy is very similar to Nuss and Sam Levitt. Also a 6'2". This guy has strong arm, good zip, not great zip. Ball placement is really good, actually. I think it's better than people really know. And I also say that because I don't think really anyone knows. And I'll say I'm guilty of it too. And every single person on this table is guilty of it. Not enough people have watched Arizona State to know how good Sam Levitt is, actually. So this kind of grade already this early, even from PFF, feels like, wait, how did this happen? This feels a little bit early because even in the national televised games, he was not a first-round quarterback. But I think what he showed last season and watching it back, I think is good enough to be a potential first-round quarterback. Right now, I would not have him picked in the first round. I think you only pick him in the first round if you wanted the fifth-year option. But I think he's an NFL quarterback. I think he can be selected in the second round and potentially roll into a starting job, but he'd be a backup right now. He's not afraid to step up and run. And the biggest thing I love about him right now is if he's got a great receiver, he is not afraid to throw it to him ever. And he has that in Jordan Tyson and had that last year in Jordan Tyson. And, man, did he throw the ball to Jordan Tyson a ton. And he would just give Jordan Tyson every single chance possible, which is something I love about Sam Levitt. That's not something that is in every quarterback where they target their top guy all the time. In fact, Kyler Murray, one of his quotes from last season was, "It's not necessarily my job to target Marvin Harrison Jr." I hate that. You go target your guys, especially guys that are as talented as Jordan Tyson and Marvin Harrison Jr. The big thing for Sam is just the unknowns, especially without Scatabo, who had literally over 2,000 all-purpose yards last year, 1,700 on the ground and 300 through the air. And so how does that offense look when they don't have Scatabo? I know we've talked about it that we think the running back room won't take a big step back, but you also still have to replace 2,000 all-purpose yards. I don't think you're going to replace that immediately, and so I want to see that from Sam. And now I also want to see how do they play as the hunted and not the hunters. He's got a chance to play himself into the first round, but I'd be surprised if he did. I think I just would have to see more game-winning moments from him this year.
Sure. I think for him to get in the first round, it's honestly more of a how many QB desperate teams do there end up being. Because I think he is good enough that if a team's like, man, we really need a quarterback, they can convince themselves / he is worth, somebody like we need to fill a need. So he's our guy. We're gonna go get him. We're not gonna risk not getting him in the second round. Because I do really like him, and I like the kind of moxie he plays with. You said that Cade isn't necessarily a gamer. I think Sam Levitt has that. And talking about losing Scatabo, and you mentioned it earlier, I think we've all been a little disrespectful to Sam Levitt. Losing Scatabo is a big piece, but we just all naturally the offseason hit, and it's well, they lost Scatabo, so they're not going to be as good. And it's all right, well, Sam Levitt was a big part of that success, and he had a very good season. And if you turn on the tape, he made big throws and good throws. Jordan Tyson was a big part of that too. So I just don't want to discount what he did last season. I do need to see it again, but I personally expect that we'll see it again.
Yeah.
All right, now my sixth guy, who is also an early second-round grade, and this is Taylon Green. Just a freak of nature. He is built bigger, better, faster, stronger than every other guy on this list. Even Lenoris Sellers, I think he's just he makes Lenoris look a little less athletic with how athletic Taylon Green is, but production isn't there, accuracy isn't there. He runs too much, which is something I don't like. Even though that's might be his best trait is how well he runs. The potential is all there because every physical talent required is there, and it's there at an elite level. But he doesn't necessarily know how to read a defense. He turns the ball over at times. He plays, as I said, too much with his legs. And so he's going to need to show a ton this season to say that he is, um, going to be an excellent quarterback. But given what he is, I don't see how he's not taken at least in the second round next year, unless he was just awful this season, because everything is there to be the greatest quarterback of all time.
Yeah, I don't know about like guaranteed second, but definitely top half of the draft. I'm personally pretty out on him. I don't think he has the mental aspect or the IQ to play the position at a high enough level.
Absolutely.
And that is the NFL. And I don't think that's ever going to come around. He is fun to watch because of how toolsy he is. Personally, I don't know if I actually wish this because Maddox Madsen and worked out at Boise State, but it would have been kind of cool to see him and Ashton Jeanty together at Boise State just causing havoc. It would have been electric to watch. Obviously, it worked out well for Boise State. But just the thought I just had of man, that would have been really cool to just see him and the read option with Ashton Jeanty and Taylon Green would be nasty.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm pretty out on him just because I haven't seen enough from the mental space and just he misses too many throws for me, and he's played a lot of ball in his time. So, but I get the tools, and if you can just take him and tap into it, it could work out.
My next quarterback, and this is the last quarterback I'll do a bunch of talking about, is Carson Beck. This guy is a late second-round grade for me. He was projected to be the number 1 overall pick in last year's draft going into last season. And then the wheels kind of fell off. Georgia couldn't run the ball. The receivers weren't there for Georgia. He had kind of no one to throw to without Ladd McConkey, without Brock Bowers. He struggled a ton because of that. There were also injury concerns. He hurts his shoulder late in the season. Gunnar Stockton comes in and wins the SEC championship. He never really recovers from the shoulder injury. Couldn't play. Had to get surgery. Wasn't throwing a football until about a month and a half ago, so maybe there's some concern how he plays to start this season. But he's built like an NFL quarterback at 6'4", 220. He uses his legs well. He throws really well off platform, which he doesn't get enough credit for. And, of course, he throws well from a clean pocket, which he got a ton of at Georgia. The biggest thing for me on Carson, and I want to see it this year with Miami, is he played at Georgia. Can he play well when he is the best player on the field? Because when he played at Georgia, not many times was he the best player on the field until last season. He was the best player on that offense and the best player on the field, and he didn't lead his team in key spots throughout the season. The Alabama game, he struggles early and then comes on late. It was kind of disappointing, I think. It was certainly disappointing for Georgia fans, I can tell you that much, at least. But he'll have a chance at Miami to kind of prove that wrong, because he showed, at least over the course of an entire season, if he is the best player on an offense, it's not a guarantee that you're going to be great. And a large part of why they won a ton of games last year was because their defense showed up, and Georgia was just, the physical profile was better than every other team they played. Miami, there's still going to be a chance that they have that because of the talent that they do have there from a recruiting perspective and from the portal. But I want to see it. I want to see it from Carson this year. Right now, I would still draft him. I think he's got a lot to show, and he's built like an NFL quarterback. You don't find 6'4", 220 all the time with the ability to throw the ball as well as he does.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It definitely was a rough season for him last year, but I do feel like the pendulum has swung a little too far. And part of that is if you play quarterback at Georgia and you don't play very well, it's a very fun guy to hate on and dog on. You don't get your chance to take shots at Georgia football very often. No. So when you have the opportunity to rag, you are going to rag some. But he's going to have a chance to bounce back. It's going to be a great system for him to do that. And even from a standpoint of just putting up stats, he's in a great conference to do that with who they'll play. So I definitely think he'll be drafted top 2 rounds. I'm a little worried about leadership and just mental qualities there as well, because I would have liked to see a little more mental fortitude last year. But it could just be a learning experience. He could, prove that was just kind of a blip, and he builds up. Kind of how I viewed Kyle McCord, right? Of his sophomore season or his last season, Ohio State didn't end very well, but I liked how he bounced back at Syracuse, and that's why I was willing to draft him pretty high. And he was my QB4 this past year. It could be a similar thing for Carson Beck.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I wonder how it'll pan out for him in Miami because I feel like now that he's out of Georgia, Georgia's a better situation, at least support wise, than Miami will be. I'm not very high on the Miami wide receivers and all the guys they lost. Georgia lost all their guys, but they were bad, and so they replaced them with the A&M transfer. They bring in Zachariah Branch from USC. I think Georgia might have better weapons now than Miami does, so I'll be interested to see how does it go down there. I mean, we kind of assume he left for the money, but as far as like, can he like put up a good enough season with those sort of supporting weapons that I'm not high on to kind of earn back some of the draft hype that he lost after a bad year last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think relative, even if the weapons aren't, like, you line them up against Georgia, they may not be quite as good, and they are an unknown. But considering who he gets to play,
Yeah.
it's like the skill gap between his offense and the opposing defenses will be higher than the skill gap between his offense at Georgia and the opposing defenses he'd play at Georgia. Because
Yeah.
like I think the Miami O-line's going to be very good this year, and it wasn't very good at Georgia last year. So even if like the skill position players aren't fantastic, I think it'll be behind a great O-line.
Yeah, Sven, that was the point I was going to make as well just now. He'll be playing the ACC, and I think that's going to help him a ton this year, make him look better. So he's more than likely going to play himself. I think he's more likely going to play himself higher than late second round. I think he'll have a great season there.
Week 1 is huge for him, I will say.
Week 1 will be a huge test against Notre Dame, hosting them at Hard Rock Stadium.